Greatest movie of all time. A topic of discussion no doubt held amongst critics and casual viewers alike, and regardless of the merits or context, there is one movie that consistently comes up: Citizen Kane. It is AFI's #1 film. It has a 100% critic and 90% audience approval on Rotten Tomatoes. It is listed in IMDb's top 100 films. It is taught in most hack film classes at your local community college. It is lauded by top film critics and famous directors.
If there is one film it is necessary for every film lover to see, this is that film.
Well, something that gets tagged with the line, the greatest movie ever made, people back away from. And I think that this is such an approachable film. It's such a great story. It is essentially the American story.
And it is just one of the great movies ever made.
But is it really the best? I say let's jump right in. Yo, hold up a second. I'll take it from here, son. How are you hacking this video? Who are you? My name? I'm the DIC, Douchebag Internet Critic. Your name is Dick? Douchebag, you numbnuts. Now let's move past the formalities. I got a lot to say about this bore fest of a movie. Without beating around the bush like a dyke in a hedge maze, Citizen Kane sucks. Movie opens with a drawn-out montage of some shit in a castle. Then this old fuck dies. Rosebud. Then we get to hear the old fart story via news montage. Haven't seen that before. Then the fucking movie decides to start, alright? And these mugs here are all worried about what rosebud means, like they ain't never seen a fucking flower before. Then we start meeting people that the dead guy used to know. There's this fuckhead, then there's this drunk bitch. And then we get a cameo from Hugh Hefner. Then we find out that this stiff once had parents, and they sold him to this rich guy, like some weird reverse Annie or some shit. Turns out that dead guy was young and handsome, but then he turned into an old walrus. While he was young, he ran a newspaper, and he loved talking shit. So much so that he got into the hip-hop game and made a music video.
What is his name? What is his name? It's Citizen Kane! He doesn't like Mr. He likes good old Charlie Kane!
And like a true Alexander Hamilton, he got into politics. However, before he was elected, it turns out that he liked to get pussy like a motherfucker. And he decides to make his side chick his main piece. And he buys her an opera house, even though he lost the election and all. He wanted to do the right thing. But it turns out she kind of sucks at singing. This guy is so good at cutting promos that he even cuts one on her about how much she sucks. This causes her to get all suicidal and shit. But he's like, nah, I ain't having that shit. Then we get a bunch of scenes showing the fact that he might have been better off staying single. He dominates the fuck out of her. Then he dominates the fuck out of this room. Finally, the movie catches up with itself, and we get one more fucking montage of stuff and stuff and stuff. Then we get the big reveal, and it's like, oh my god, I'm so shocked, oh my god. Overall rating, 5 out of 10. Average and boring. 3 crackers, no cheese. Are you done yet? I assume you're satisfied with my review. You certainly said a lot of things. Would it help if I showed you a drunk Orson Welles?
Ah, the French champagne.
On that note, douchebag out. Wait. Before you go, why do you look so much like me? Oh, you'll find out in time, my friend. I'm sorry you had to see that, my friends. Look, in my opinion, it's easy to be cynical. It's easy to make a review like that where you just throw out a bunch of dank memes and popular phrases and catchy jokes and people go, oh my god, it's so knowledgeable. But at the end of the day, did you really say anything? I first saw this film way back in high school, and I must admit that back then I didn't get it. It seemed pretty average and normal to me. And admittedly, when I went into the idea of making this review, I had similar thoughts, but then the strange thing happened where I watched the movie, and then I watched it again, and then I watched it again, and something strange was going on. This opening scene isn't just showing you stuff, but it's setting a tone of loneliness and sadness. Which is followed by his death. The news montage isn't merely just a spewing of exposition. They're showing you what the common folk, what you or I would think of a man like Citizen Kane. But then we go deeper and deeper and deeper, and we get the viewpoint of his co-workers.
You take Mr. Kane. It wasn't money he wanted. Thatcher never did figure him out. Sometimes even I couldn't.
Then we get the viewpoint of his friends.
Maybe I wasn't his friend, but if I wasn't, he never had one.
And then his lovers.
A lot of what comes into my mind about myself and Mr. Charlie Kane. You know, maybe I should never have sung for Charlie that first time I met him.
We then watch this man go from young and hopeful.
The trouble is you don't realize you're talking to two people. As Charles Foster Kane, who owns 82,364 shares of public transit preferred, you see, I do have a general idea of my holdings. I sympathize with you. Charles Foster Kane is a scoundrel. His paper should be run out of town. A committee should be formed to boycott him. You may, if you can form such a committee, put me down for a contribution of $1,000.
My time's
On the
too
other
bad.
hand, I am the publisher of the Inquirer. As such, it's my duty, and I'll let you in on a little secret. It's also my pleasure to see to it that decent, hard-working people in this community aren't robbed blind by a pack of money-mad pirates just because they haven't anybody to look after their interests.
Old and cynical.
People will think.
What I tell them to think.
He is on top of the world one minute and all alone the next. Once a voice of the people.
This Inquirer that's costing you $1 million a year?
You're right, Mr. Thatcher. I did lose $1 million last year. I expect to lose $1 million this year. I expect to lose $1 million next year. You know, Mr. Thatcher, at the rate of $1 million a year, I'll have to close this place in 60 years.
He becomes a monster of spite and selfishness.
Hello, Jedediah. Hello, Charlie. I didn't know we were speaking. Sure we're speaking, Jedediah. You're fired.
This whole time, the movie presents him from many viewpoints, but the one viewpoint we never truly understand is Kane. Which brings us to Rosebud. A childhood sled. The one thing he wanted. The one thing on his mind. Not fame, fortune, power, lust. It was the thought of being able to just be an innocent child again and play in the snow. That was what was on his mind. Now, I know some of you are watching this like, dude, I already know all of these things. I know what Rosebud is. I know about these themes. That doesn't make it a great movie. So I decided to dive a little deeper into the creation and origin of this film. Citizen Kane was a box office bomb. Not only that, but despite being nominated for several Academy Awards, it lost the majority of that. Well, to know Citizen Kane, you must first know William Randolph Hearst. Hearst was a media giant. He owned newspapers and magazines. Now, Citizen Kane, when it was released, came under a lot of heat from William Randolph Hearst.
Is it true that when Citizen Kane was being made, that people actually tried to stop it being made? And is it true that Randolph Hearst, the newspaper tycoon, took it as being an attack on himself and tried to stop it when it was made being shown?
To the first part of your question, there was indeed a very definite effort to stop the film during shooting. Mr. Hearst was quite a bit like Kane, although Kane isn't really founded on Hearst in particular. There are many people sat for it, so to speak. But he was like Kane in that he wouldn't have stooped to such a thing. But he had many hatchet men, editors and representatives of this great network of newspapers all over the country. And to get in good with the chief, there was a good deal of very strong hatchet, including an effort to frame me on a criminal charge, which a policeman was good enough to tell me about, is sensational and silly.
To watch Citizen Kane is an act of rebellion. It is a middle finger to the status quo. You are actively choosing to question those that are in power, and that's a beautiful thing.
You know, Mr. Bernstein, if I hadn't been very rich, I might have been a really great man.
Don't you think you are?
I think I did pretty well under the circumstances.
What would you like to have been?
Everything you hate.
Citizen Kane is a living, breathing statement. On top of all of that, it is well acted, directed, edited, anything you can think of. This movie's great.
To point out and make public the dishonesty, the downright villainy of boss Jim W. Getty's political machine, now in complete control of the government of this state. I made no campaign promises because until a few weeks ago, I had no hope of being elected.
In the end, is it the greatest movie of all time? Of course not. It is purely subjective or objective or whatever those words mean. I don't actually know. I'm not smart. I just pretend to be. However, let's look outside of personal opinions. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Action, please.
Ah, the French